If I were a sultan, I would have 3 sons. How to become a sultan? There are several ways. To take the throne of a sultan, you need to be born in the right harem, or sow the rivers of blood. Here are the proven variants. Be the son of the ruling sultan, better than the eldest. Gather an army. Janissaries are always for those who pay. But our hero was a slave and became a sultan. He created the greatest state of Mamluks in the Middle East. It is called Rukn ad-Din, a defender of faith or a warrior of Allah. Baybars for the Kazakhs is a special and sacred figure. For example, for the British, King Arthur. For the Russians, Alexander Nevsky. For the Germans, Karl the Great. Sultan Baybars was buried in Damascus. Let us remind you that in June 2023, after the restoration, the Mosque of Baybars in Egypt was opened. Kazakhstan allocated to Egypt $4.5 million for the restoration.
2 years ago, the 800th anniversary of Sultan Baybars, the son of the Desht and Kipchak steppes, founded the Turkic state of Mamluks in Egypt. So friends, make tea or coffee, sit back, let's start a story about the Mamluks and Sultan Baybars. Malik Az-Zahir Rukn ad-Dunya wad-Din, Baybars al-Bunduktari al-Sali, Mamluk Sultan of Egypt and Syria, 1223-1277, from the Bahrit dynasty, commander-in-chief. He defeated the Hulagwids of the Mongol Ilkhanate and the Crusaders of the West. Nickname Abul Futu, that is, the father of victory, also known as Baybars I or Sultan Baybars. According to the common version, Baybars the Kipchak was born in Desht and Kipchak. This is the Polovskian steppe, between the Volga and Zaik, or the Urals. The Egyptian scholar and historian of the 13th century, Al-Aini, in his works Iqt al-Juman fi Tarikh al-Azman, writes that Baybaris bin Abdullah belongs to the tribe of Roda Berish, the Turkic-speaking Kipchak nation.
Baybars was a very weak boy and was to die. No one bought him, and only when everyone was bought, the slaveholder said that he should take Baybars as a betrothal, so he was bought for the price of a chicken. They thought he would still die in prison, but he survived. According to legend, what he was bought was a good sign, because he was a swordsman. The young man was bought by Emir Mamluk al-Adin Aytekin and gave him the name Baybars. But who are the Mamluks? Mamluk is an Arabic word, literally belonging, that is, a slave warrior. They were bought in the slave markets of Crimea, the Caucasus, and Central Asia. There were boys from the Kipchaks, the Circassians, the Georgians. There were also young men from the Balkans, as well as southern Slavs. Mamluks were also recruited from the Egyptians. Since childhood, they were taught horse fighting, bow shooting, Islam. They were loyal only to their master and had no family ties in the elites. The best cavalry of the Middle East was from the Mamluks. Their horse archers did not know their equals, probably because these young men were from nomadic peoples. Mamluk emirs bought slaves not for home, but for war. Warriors were trained with their help. Mamluks practiced their combat skills. Baybars, however, turned out to be tenacious. He not only survived such training, but also fell in love with the Sultan al-Salih. At the age of 24, he became the commander of one of the detachments of his personal guard. In parallel with Baybars, there was another outcast from the former captives. His name was al-Malik al-Muzaffar, but in history he was named Qutuz. This young Mamluk was born in the state of Khwarizm Shah. Egyptian historian of the 13th century, Taqiyuddin al-Makrizi, assures that Qutuz was the grandson of the last ruler of Khwarizm and the nephew of the legendary Jalal ad-Din, who was the main headache of Genghis Khan. Qutuz was also captured, was sold to Damascus, and then transported to Cairo. He was a little older than Baybars and a little ahead of him. Most likely, at the time when Baybars headed one of the detachments of the Sultan's guard, Qutuz was his commander. The Mamluk army was not just an army, but a real military machine, deeply permeated by the Turkic spirit and traditions. All the commands in it were given exclusively in the Turkic language, and the attacks were accompanied by the rhythm of the drums, setting the pace of the battle. These were real fighters, professional warriors, deadly and absolutely devoted to the cause.
They can be called the living shield of the caliphate. But let's get back to our heroes, Baybars and Kutus. Very soon, they had a chance to show themselves. The French king Louis IX began the Seventh Crusade. Louis IX managed to capture Damietta, a huge fortress located on an island in the middle of the Nile.
Thus, the Crusaders cut one part of the country from the other. From complete defeat, the Mamluks were saved by a sudden river overflow. In 1249, the Nile overflowed earlier than usual. As a result, Louis and his people were trapped on the island for almost half a year. During this time, Sultan As-Salih managed to assemble an army and begin resistance. But at the moment when the French withdrew from Damietta to Cairo, the Sultan suddenly died. The situation was saved by his widow, Shajar ad-Dur. She managed to hide the death of her husband. Only a few Mamluk commanders knew the truth. Meanwhile, the son of As-Salih, Turan Shah, was on his way from Iraq. While he was on the road, Shajar ad-Dur issued orders in the name of the deceased sultan and managed to turn the course of the war. The Mamluks defeated Louis IX near Al-Mansur. Later, the French army was destroyed and the king himself was captured. Further events unfolded rapidly. Turan Shah conflicted with the Mamluks and was eventually killed. The Ayyubid dynasty ended.
After a chain of coups and betrayals, the region faced a new threat, the Mongols under Hulagu. In 1258, Baghdad fell, and in 1260, Damascus was taken. But soon came the turning point, the Battle of Ain Jalut. Baybars played a key role, luring the Mongols into an ambush. The Mongols were defeated for the first time in history. Soon after, Baybars seized power and became Sultan of Egypt. A former slave from the steppe built a powerful state and ruled for 17 years. In foreign policy, Baybars was ruthless. He defeated the Crusaders, captured Antioch, and strengthened his state. Inside the country, he developed infrastructure, supported science, and built mosques. He died in 1277, remembered as Abul Futuh, the father of victory. According to legend, before his death, he ordered to keep his passing secret to protect his family. His son was proclaimed ruler, and later Baybars was buried in Damascus.